She stood in front of the mirror wearing someone else's life, lace, silk, and a future she hadn't chosen. Clara, only 24, was about to marry a man she barely knew. Arthur Thorne, heir to an old fortune, brilliant, lonely, and dying. For her, marriage wasn't love, it was survival. A desperate escape from debt and a life that had offered her nothing but loss. The Thorne estate felt like a museum of forgotten wealth. Arthur lived hidden within it, trapped in a failing body, but with a mind still sharp enough to cut through her indifference the moment he looked at her. Their wedding was performed quietly in a small chapel, attended only by lawyers and a distant cousin who watched Clara with suspicion. Arthur's vows came out slow and fragile, but sincere. Clara's were mechanical, empty, rehearsed. It was a transaction. Nothing more. In the first weeks, Clara moved through the mansion like a ghost. She was the lady of the house in name only. Nurses handled Arthur's care. Mrs. Davies, his longtime assistant, monitored everything with strict precision. Clara merely existed, walking through silent halls, reading old books, exploring gardens that bloomed for no one. Yet despite her attempts to stay distant, Arthur's presence followed her like a soft echo. The slow shifting of his wheelchair, the faint music from his study, the quiet strength in his voice even as his body betrayed him. Then came the night of the storm. The lights failed, plunging the mansion into darkness. Panic swallowed her, the same childhood fear she thought she'd buried. But instead of hiding, she found herself running toward Arthur's study. She expected to find him frightened, vulnerable. Instead, she found calm. A lantern glowed beside him. Rain crashed against the window. "You came," he whispered. She tried to mask her trembling, claiming she only came to check on him. Arthur, with surprising gentleness, asked if she feared the dark. She admitted yes, and he confessed his own fear, losing his mind before his body finally surrendered. Something softened between them. When he asked her to read to him, she agreed. Her voice filled the room with the words of Wuthering Heights, and Arthur listened as if the story tethered him to the world. That night, the wall she had built around her heart cracked. Just a little. Days turned into weeks. She spent more time with him, not out of duty, but curiosity. Arthur spoke about art, philosophy, the stars, and the travels he once had strength for. With him, she felt seen in a way she never expected. Clara confessed pieces of her past, her abandoned dreams, her love for drawing. Arthur never judged. He listened, truly listened. In a world that had always ignored her, that simple act felt revolutionary. One afternoon, he asked the question she feared most. "Do you resent me?" She tried to deny it, but the truth spilled out. She told him she came for money, for survival, not love. Arthur nodded, admitting he had always known. He didn't need illusions. He simply didn't want to die alone. Their honesty bound them closer than any vow had. Clara began caring for him herself, adjusting his pillows, helping him eat, reading his unfinished novel, and encouraging him to keep going. She learned the subtle signs of his pain, the small expressions he made when words failed. She found joy in every small improvement he had, every moment of clarity. Arthur, in return, showed her the stars from the estate observatory. She guided the telescope while he explained constellations with childlike wonder. They laughed gently together, shared silences comfortably, and built a quiet world that belonged only to them. The staff noticed the change. Mrs. Davies softened, telling Clara she had brought light back into Arthur's life. Clara felt something grow in her chest, something warm, terrifying, and beautiful. But Arthur's illness marched forward. The good days faded. The pain increased. Clara stayed awake through countless nights, holding his hand, whispering stories to soothe him. One particularly difficult night, Arthur trembled with pain. Clara broke, crying that it wasn't fair. Arthur, fighting for breath, told her life was rarely fair, but she was his unexpected gift, his reason to keep going. She realized then that she loved him. Not the money, not the security, him. His mind, his kindness, his soul. She loved the man she had once resented, the man she had married for all the wrong reasons, who somehow became the center of her world. As autumn arrived, Arthur grew weaker. Doctors warned his time was short. Clara stayed by his side every moment, reading to him, telling him how he had changed her life. One quiet morning, as golden leaves fluttered past the window, Arthur died peacefully, with her head resting on his chest. The silence that followed felt endless. Her tears fell not for the life she had once wanted, but for the love she had finally found and lost. In the weeks that followed, Clara wandered the mansion as if in a dream. But grief slowly turned into purpose. Arthur had left her financially secure, but he also left her with something much more precious, a sense of meaning. She published his unfinished novel, dedicating it to his memory. She created a foundation in his name, supporting research and young scholars. She maintained the estate, not as a wealthy widow, but as a guardian of Arthur's legacy. Clara never remarried. Instead, she filled her days with helping others, offering the empathy she had learned through love and loss. At night, she often sat in the observatory looking up at the stars. In the quiet, she felt him, not as a memory, but as a presence, a guiding light. She had married for money. She stayed for compassion. She lived for love. And Arthur left her with the greatest inheritance of all, a transformed heart and a legacy that would outlive them both. Some loves don't begin with fireworks. Some arrive quietly but stay forever.